There were not many people who understood just how broad his interests were and how supportive he was of an astonishingly wide range of organisation.
Welcome back to Vintage Discovery, where we share updates and stories about Catherine, Princess of Wales, and her royal family. Today we have important news. Princess Anne has asked Camilla to return the late Queen's jewels. A source says Princess Anne has given a strong message to Queen Camilla about her mother's jewels, which Camilla reportedly kept after Queen Elizabeth died in 2022. This revelation surprised the entire family when Princess Anne revealed Camilla's attempt to take the late Queen's jewels. Windsor Castle, a place rich in history, faces a crisis that could change the monarchy forever. After Queen Elizabeth II died, royal archivists checked the vaults and made a shocking discovery. Several valuable items had gone missing during her reign. At first, Buckingham Palace did not comment. However, Princess Anne, known for her loyalty and dislike of secrets, began hearing troubling rumors. Under strict rules, a small, quiet team normally verified the crown jewels and Queen Elizabeth's personal items. What started as a routine task quickly descended into chaos, fueled by fear. This was more than just lost items. The royal family's history depended on these artifacts. For example, Queen Victoria gave the Queen a diamond flower brooch just before her coronation, which is now missing. The Queen's sapphire and diamond necklace, worn to symbolize the strength and unity of the Commonwealth, is also gone. These items were not just expensive, they represented the character of the monarchy, and their absence created a gap in the nation's story. In response to this crisis, the palace aimed to manage the situation carefully. They restricted public comments and leaks to the press, informing only a few top royals, believing they would grasp the seriousness and avoid suspicion. When Princess Anne revealed the truth, everything changed. True to her sense of duty, Anne responded unexpectedly. She made no immediate statements, keeping a calm expression and controlled manner. However, beneath her quiet exterior lay a fierce anger and a determined focus, ready to confront the issue head-on. The heirlooms were more than just objects. They symbolized her mother's 7-decade reign and the continuation of the British monarchy. Now, they were missing. Anne suddenly remembered the peaceful times she shared with her mother before her passing. She recalled her mother's prayers, which emphasized that the value of each heirloom was greater than its material worth. These items carried a sacred duty, history, and identity. Passing them on required passion. Princess Charlotte, who would one day be Anne's great-granddaughter, was to receive the sapphire pendant Anne had selected. The Victorian brooch, connecting generations of strong royal women, was meant for Anne. Then, someone interrupted this sacred plan. Palace aides offered excuses, claiming a clerical error occurred during the chaotic transition after the Queen's death. However, this excuse was unconvincing. The palace had a strict inventory system, so the heirlooms were not lost. Their removal was intentional. As Anne's concerns grew, Camilla stepped forward from quiet conversations. Aides had noticed oddities in the items handled by the Queen consort, particularly during private events where no records were kept. Even without an official explanation, confusion continued. Anne chose to be calculated in her response. She could not storm Buckingham Palace or speak out publicly. Instead, she resolved to find the truth with the calm determination of someone who had faced royal controversies all her life. Camilla might believe her new title gave her control over royal symbols. Anne understood that crowns do not leave a meaningful legacy. What you protect matters. This included more than just stolen heirlooms. It also involved ancestry, love, and a betrayal Anne could not ignore. Outside the castle, someone from the past offered a crucial clue. This person spoke carefully. During a peaceful period before the coronation, they had worked as Camilla's personal assistant. They carried something more dangerous than gossip. They revealed a hidden vault without explanation. Ray Mill House, Camilla's secluded place in Wiltshire, is not a royal archive or government storage. It is a private area under surveillance. The former assistant claimed that significant historical items had been secretly moved there. However, Camilla was not responsible for this transfer. These items had once shown during Queen Elizabeth II's reign. As the assistant spoke, Anne listened closely, piecing together a troubling picture. "I wanted to correct a mistake that has weighed on me for months," the assistant said, emphasizing that their motivation was not for money or fame. They specifically mentioned the Queen's emerald and diamond choker, which had never appeared in royal records since her death. The assistant also mentioned a missing sapphire brooch and a pearl tiara with a notable history. These items had not been seen since a diplomatic gala, even though Camilla described them as being safely kept within the family. The assistant felt that this claim was suspicious. Who authorized the transfer? Where can I find the chain of custody records? Why does the Crown own items that are considered private property? Not even Charles or Anne's closest friends knew her secret. Instead, Anne acted quickly and decisively. She contacted 2 trusted members of the Royal Protection Command, who promised to keep things confidential. They were assigned a covert mission while reviewing security at Mill House. They found evidence that supported the assistant's claims and dismissed the idea of a misunderstanding. A vault existed with restricted access, and the digital and physical logs had been removed. However, the inventory team collected undercover information, revealing everything. Many antiques belonging to the Queen were moved and labeled inaccurately, instead of using Royal Collection Trust tracking numbers. It was clear this wasn't just a simple mix-up, it was hidden. Princess Anne reportedly shared her last wishes regarding her mother's jewels with Queen Camilla, and this will was allegedly kept secret by Queen Camilla after Queen Elizabeth died in 2022. An insider provided this information at the time. The entire family was surprised when Princess Anne revealed Camilla's actions, which included trying to take a gem that belonged to the late Queen. Anne carefully reviewed the report. The emerald necklace, which her mother said represented the balance between heritage and restraint, was photographed looking out of place in that private vault, stripped of context and history. Jewelry was no longer the primary focus. Camilla seemed to be twisting the narrative and using symbols from Queen Elizabeth's legacy for her own purposes. If Camilla thought these antiques would define her time as Queen Consort, she underestimated the woman who stood alongside the Queen through years of challenges. Anne always understood that the palace was a place of whispered revolts and hidden conflicts. But this situation was different. This was theft. Not just of wealth and diamonds, but of trust, history, and a tradition passed down for centuries. Now that heritage was locked away, she was done listening to rumors. Whispers were confirmed. She prepared for an unexpected confrontation. Clarence House has hosted solemn events and tense silence. The hallways felt charged with anticipation that day, something more unsettling than tradition. Princess Anne arrived suddenly, accompanied by 2 senior royal aides, who matched her calm demeanor. There was no press, no formal greetings. Her strength came from her royal status, not flattery. On the other side, Queen Consort Camilla was unready for Anne's anger. The argument began immediately. Anne's voice echoed in the lavish room as she boldly accused Camilla of hoarding royal items meant for the crown and its people. Camilla stiffened at the accusation. She tried to argue that it was ridiculous, but Anne continued, talking about the underground vault at Mill House, the missing treasures, and the heritage of the Queen being mishandled. Camilla lost her composure. She claimed the items were misfiled in the chaos following the Queen's death, calling it a clerical error. She spoke defensively, but her fear showed in her eyes. Anne had not come empty-handed. A consultant handed Camilla a leather-bound binder. Inside were high-quality photos of the vault's contents, detailed records comparing items to royal inventory, and signed statements from 2 former staffers confirming Camilla's role in taking the treasures. There was no doubt. The proof was clear. Anne stared at Camilla, daring her to deny the truth. The emerald necklace, the Victorian sapphire brooch, and the pearls once belonging to Princess Diana, all were documented with evidence against Camilla's excuses. When cornered, Camilla changed her approach. Dramatically, she proclaimed her title as Queen Consort. She claimed the people accepted her role and that these precious items were safe. She insisted she had the right to honor the Queen in her own way. Anne saw through the deception clearly. "Respect is not inherited," she said sharply. "It's earned, not just about feelings. It's about truth." She reminded Camilla that the Queen had clearly stated her wishes for the artworks and that Camilla had ignored them while using her ceremonial power. Anne warned that she would expose everything if the treasures were not returned to the royal collection immediately and without lies. The palace would not hide the truth or try to deny it. The public deserved to know the reality, which still respected Queen Elizabeth and her legacy more than the new regime's formalities. Camilla did not respond. Their heavy silence spoke volumes. Camilla did not back down. Retaliation shook the royal family and threatened to tear them apart. Unprepared but determined, Camilla relied on her years in the public eye. She believed that being quiet was a strategy, not surrender. Hours after Anne left Clarence House, Camilla went straight to the king without her usual advisors. She did not present the facts like Anne did. Instead, she twisted the truth to paint Anne as aggressive, stubborn, and uncontrollable. She called the meeting a humiliating ambush, not a noble fight for justice. Charles, already struggling to run a changing monarchy, felt torn. On one side was his sister, a symbol of tradition and duty. On the other hand was his wife, who had supported him through public opinion and into the throne room. Camilla gave a report filled with subtle threats and emotional pleas. She warned that Anne's actions could cause a media storm that the monarchy couldn't handle. She told him to protect the institution's dignity, but she also wanted control. Camilla started to influence things behind the scenes. She spoke to senior advisors, suggested Anne was unstable, and connected with courtiers who feared Anne's rising popularity. The turning point was a draft of a royal decree for the king's review. It suggested cutting Princess Anne's ceremonial duties. The biggest recommendation was to remove her from future Order of the Garter ceremonies, a significant emotional blow that would strip her of one of her most honored roles. This was not just petty politics. It threatened Anne's legacy, public image, and power within the family. The proposed decree unsettled the inner circle. Advisors took sides. Some doubted Camilla's motives but stayed silent for fear of job loss. Others saw an opportunity in her growing popularity. A hidden, harmful division poisoned every area they visited. A special note came for Anne from Prince William, who sought her out. Despite warning her, he supported her view. "Be careful," he said. "Your conflict with Camilla has grown." This was not a call to yield, but a severe warning about the stakes involved. Anne carefully examined the draft decree in her study. It did not frighten her. It made her stronger. The issue was about more than artifacts. Camilla wasn't the issue. The focus was on principles, keeping politics and manipulation out of a legacy. The conflict was structural, not personal. Anne continued to fight. Anne reflected on her mother, Queen Elizabeth II, and the aftermath of her death regarding the royal jewels. She discovered a sealed letter in the royal archives that revealed the Queen's true intentions for the jewels, emphasizing their significance as symbols of history rather than mere treasures. The Queen had designated Princess Charlotte as the future heir to the sapphire necklace, while expressing concern about Camilla's perception of these items. The letter ultimately named Anne as the Queen's chosen successor, highlighting her understanding of the actual cost of legacy. With this revelation, Anne entered a meeting with royal advisors, confident and determined. The atmosphere shifted as they recognized Anne's authority. However, a media frenzy erupted when details of the private family matters leaked, leading to speculation about missing royal heirlooms and Camilla's hoarding of jewels. Buckingham Palace attempted to calm the situation, but public sentiment turned against Camilla, portraying her as a usurper. Meanwhile, Anne, known for her honesty and devotion, remained silent, letting her actions speak louder than words. Princess Anne suspected Camilla was trying to gain public support through a recent disclosure, which intensified the tension within the family. Anne was frustrated by the lack of press control and power dynamics, but didn't realize that the real problem stemmed from someone else leaking information. Meanwhile, Prince Harry, living in California, felt disconnected from royal life as he watched the turmoil unfold. He reached out to Anne, recalling his mother, Princess Diana's, warnings about heirlooms disappearing with new titles. Harry shared private letters and a missing pearl bracelet that belonged to Diana, suggesting it could help Anne reclaim their family's heritage. Despite the tension, Anne remained focused on her mission. Camilla, feeling cornered, tried to play to tradition by wearing a missing brooch at a charity event, claiming it was misfiled. However, Anne's response at a veterans' memorial resonated more deeply. True heritage does not require spectacle, it needs honor. The conflict began at Balmoral Castle, when Anne confronted Camilla with overwhelming evidence of her misdeeds. Camilla attempted to justify her actions, but ultimately agreed to return the stolen items so the matter wouldn't be discussed again. While agreeing to this, Anne made it clear that she wouldn't tolerate future thefts. The heirlooms were returned, but the trust between them was broken. Princess Anne emerged as a strong protector of the crown's integrity, while Camilla's power and authority were diminished. The royal family was left with a damaged legacy that would be challenging to repair.